Hello everyone, welcome to Raj IAS group. So कल elections हो गए, results have come. I hope everyone is happy with the results. So as you all know, let's get back to business. Sorry. So as you all know, we have started this new initiative where on a particular day we are going to cover topics related to particular subjects. We have segregated them so that it will be convenient for you to cover the news that has been recently there as related to your subjects. So a very warm welcome to everyone. I am Drishti. Today is Friday and we will be covering social issues, and in social issues our particular topic is going to be marginalized sections, right? So let's get started. Let's see what the index for today is. So we are going to cover three topics. In three topics, the first one is SMILE. SMILE scheme was recently launched. It is related to two particular sections of society. One is transgenders and one is beggars, right? We are going to cover their issues and the government initiatives that are there in detail for them, right? Then there is SEED scheme. SEED scheme is for your DNTs. DNTs refer to denotified tribes, nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes, right? These were notified during the time of British Raj, but Government of India repealed them. Government of India repealed them in 1952, right? Then we have Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana. These are for elderly. We are going to cover everything, how formation for policy of elderly has taken place in India, what are the international conventions related to it. We are going to cover everything, right? And a couple of students have mentioned a few doubts related to our previous session. I'm going to cover those as well at the end of the video. So let's get started, right? So this is SMILE scheme. SMILE is support for marginalized individuals for livelihood and enterprise, right? So our SMILE scheme covers two basic categories of people: transgenders and beggars, right? So these two sections, these particular two sections are most marginalized, oppressed, abused and subjugated sections of our society, right? So now let's see what are the basic problems that are caused by begging. Everyone, all of us see beggars around. It is a very common picture in India, particularly in India and the countries in tropics. If you go to the west, the sight of beggars is not that common. So in India, what are the problems that are caused by begging? Let's discuss that, right? The first one is drug abuse. Beggars, being so depressed section of the society, are very easily subjugated to drug abuse. They fall into this trap. They already don't have any particular source of income, fixed source of income, and because they fall into the trap of drug abuse, they become drug addicts. Further, their quality of life, their standard of life is degraded, and ultimately it leads to the destruction of their quality of life, right? Now second option is economic burden. Economic burden, how begging not only creates economic burden on people who donate, but this also creates an economic burden on state as a whole, right? Now beggars, they become a part of organized crime. Organized crime as in there are cartels, there are syndicates that employ people who are pretending to be beggars, but in real they do other sorts of illegal stuff, right? So these basically act as eyes and ears, also as suppliers of crime syndicates. Now there are child related crimes. Because you don't have any fixed source of income, you want something to earn, you want proper fooding, clothing, shelter. So a lot of children who come into the beggar category, they are exposed to child related crimes, also known as basically pedophilia, right? This related to this, if you know POSCO Act was enacted. So in future when this comes in news, we are going to discuss this as well. But because of begging, a lot of child related crimes also happen, right? Now women, particularly in this section, they are prone to get involved into prostitution, right? Because wahi earning wala issue, you're unable to have good living, good earning, so you fall into this trap. Now when you go to any public place, any tourist place, you are bombarded with beggars. They say things that are emotionally viable, they sort of emotionally blackmail you, right? And that not only applies to Indians but the foreigners that come to India as well. So they sort of abuse common public and tourists, right? Then they become part of this Hawala syndicate. This you must have read in economy. Economy mein Hawala is sort of a parallel economy. So beggars, a huge part of beggars, if you go to this old areas of Chandni Chowk, you will see people, they have suitcases. Beggars, they have suitcases, and as soon as police comes, all of them, they run towards the terraces. So it's a common sight there. If you have been there, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? Now beggars, they become a huge part of trafficking. Trafficking mein there is human trafficking, where they are they are forced to do bonded labor, or they become a part of organ syndicate, where they are killed and their body parts are sold at a very high price in West, right? And then they become a part of sex trafficking as well. So this is how the begging results into all these problems, and the people hence suffer, right? Now the other part is transgenders. Transgenders, see, the problem with the beggars, they also apply to the transgenders, because they themselves are very marginalized. At least beggars can beg publicly, but transgenders, they have to hide. So not coming out and being discriminated is their prime problem. Also they face other numerous issues, right? So we'll cover those as well. First, at a very young age, they are forced to leave their parents' home, right? If you know, they have these sort of groups where they come, and if they know a particular child might be transgender, they come and they take the child away, because they tell them they won't be accepted in the society, etc, etc. So at a very young age, they are deprived of their parental care, right? Second point is education. Consider yourself. You are a part of mainstream. You are getting the best education possible, best resources possible, but someone who has been deprived of their parental care, how is it possible that they'll achieve a proper education? So receiving a regular minimal basic education remains a very big issue for transgenders, right? So education is covered. Now employment, because they don't have proper education, they have no skills, their employment becomes a very big issue, and hence their means of livelihood and earning, these all come into question. Next part is their health. How health? Because health aspect, it is covered in two parts. A, because they are isolated, they are discriminated, the basic medical health facilities. Achha, transgenders are सबसे ज़्यादा prone to HIV, because they are living in secrecy, they are afraid to come out. If they have some sort of disease, some sort of even basic infectious disease, getting a proper medical treatment is a huge issue for them. So majority of them, they die in silence, right? And it's a very slow, painful death. Second issue is, if transgenders want to undergo a gender reaffirmation surgery to be fit in the body they want to be, it is a very big thing for them. No proper guidance is available, no proper medical facilities is available, and if they are available, it is at a huge cost, right? Now, access to public spaces and shelter. No public space, no shelters, accept them as normal. We do not come across in our daily life many transgenders who can roam freely around us, because the problem lies with us and basically with the society, because there is no sort of acceptance, right? So it is our prime responsibility that we accept them as a part of our society. The first step we will have to take forward, right? Now, because they are marginalized, their civil status comes into question. They do not live in the society the same way we people do, right? Then because they are discriminated, they are different, there comes gender based violence. Because they are third gender, as recognized by Supreme Court in Nalsa case, where Supreme Court gave them a legal recognition, the third gender. Because they are the third gender, they face gender based violence on a very big issue, and because of this livelihood and stuff, they have to be pushed, they get pushed to be a part of the same sex trafficking and prostitution. Then discrimination is, we have already discussed, they because they do not feel that they are part of society, because we as a society do not accept them, they feel discriminated and hence they feel isolated, right? Now let's come back to the scheme for beggars. There has been a survey, I'm going to discuss it in the slide ahead, and for transgenders the scheme has further multiple components, right? So now I have divided the scheme into broad headings. This is going to help you in multiple ways. A direct question आ गया अगर UPSC में, which department is responsible for this scheme? So from there you can answer the question. Second, it is going to help you write better answers in your essay, in your GS paper 2. If you have a humanities related optional, then plus your ethics paper, right? So comprehensive knowledge of subject is going to help you a lot. Now let's get back. So department आया आपका, department, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is taking up this scheme's responsibility. What is the purpose? The purpose is welfare and rehabilitation, right? Welfare and rehabilitation में we are going to provide them medical facilities, we are going to provide them counseling, basic documentation, education, their skill development, their economic linkages, bank account खुलवाएंगे, medical facilities, everything, right? Just से भी they are deprived. Now why do they need social security? Because we have to make it sure that they have multiple dimensions of access to basic life, right? Now let's come to the implementing agencies. The scheme will be implemented through state and UT government, your local bodies, your NGOs, voluntary organizations, etc. Right? Now details about the scheme. What are the details about the scheme? Skill training and modern education we are going to provide them, so they have a better source of livelihood, right? Then we will provide them legal protection so that the crime committed against them, which usually go unnoticed, are taken into consideration and the culprits will be punished accordingly. Now, Government of India has initiated pilot projects on comprehensive rehabilitation of people in a couple of around 10 multiple metro cities. These are the list of metro cities. You can go through them, right? Now, your SMILE scheme, it's a central sector scheme. This is the key word, right? So, what is a central sector scheme? Central sector scheme is 100% funded by central government and funded by central government machinery. तो इस पे 100% कंट्रोल इज ऑफ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, राइट. सो transgenders में it has various components, and when it comes to beggars we will focus on their survey, identification, their mobilization, rescue and their comprehensive resettlement, right. Now for transgenders what we are going to do? For transgenders we are going to provide them scholarships from 9th class till their post graduation, so that they have a proper means to earn their livelihood, so that they are not pushed to the extreme lower strata of the society, right. Now we are going to provide them skill development through PM Daksh scheme. PM Daksh kya hai? Next slide mein I'll discuss it. So we are going to provide them skill development through PM Daksh scheme. Now through composite we are going to provide them composite medical help through your Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Yojana, where they'll get the basic medical facilities, and also if they get gender reaffirmation surgeries done, so wahan pe bhi they'll get proper help according to it, right. We'll be providing them housing facilities in the name of Garima Greh. Garima Greh, they'll be provided a safe and sound place for staying, for recreational activities, for moral support, emotional support, and whatever educational support they need, skill support they need to earn their means of livelihood. There is going to be a transgender protection cell. Transgender protection cell will be responsible so that the culprits who are responsible for crimes related to the transgender, they are answerable, right. Now let's come to PM Daksh scheme. We are going to provide them livelihood skill opportunities through PM Daksh scheme. So this is your PM Daksh scheme. What are we going to do? There is going to be skill development and training for SCs, your scheduled castes, OBCs, other backward classes, EBCs, economically backward classes, DNTs, denotified nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes. Seed scheme mein I already told you DNTs, right, and Safai Karmacharis. So PM Daksh scheme mein kya hoga? We are going to provide them a couple of types of training, upskilling and RPL. Upskilling or RPL, RPL refers to recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning. So whatever knowledge they already have, which they have acquired on the basis of their experience, or if it has been transferred to them via generation, so we will help them to upgrade it so that they can reap better benefits with it. We are going to provide them with short-term courses and entrepreneurial development programs. Also, we are going to provide them with long-term courses, right. Now there is going to be a national helpline, national portal and helpline, which will provide them all the necessary information and information regarding what are their rights, what sort of help they need, right, and the people that are engaged to help them, right, so that they can come out of this act of begging and can lead a better life. Here is the Census of India's figures, which mentions how many beggars were there in Census of India. Census is very important. It happens in every how many years? Please mention it in comments. It was bound to happen in 2021, but it got postponed because of COVID and the respective reasons. So as per the Census of India, these are the numbers of beggars of India, male, female, total, right. Also, if I talk about the transgenders, so the Census of India 2011 says ki there are about 4.9 lakh transgenders in India, where they comprise of about 28% of the population, right? And their numbers are very high in UP, MP, Andhra Pradesh, etc. Right? So this is the data you can use while compiling your answers, right? So next, if we come here, this is the chart of sustainable development goals. This chart should be imprinted in your minds. If you want to write better answers, this chart should be imprinted on your mind. Take a print out of it, stick it on your study table, do whatever you want, but you should remember these basic sustainable development goals which were given by UN. Why this is important is because every policy that is formed for people or worldwide by any government in the world is in line with these goals, right? We have to achieve them by 2030. That was the ideal date given. So the policies that have been formed about the transgenders and the beggars, they have to be in line with these goals. I'll show you which goals and then we'll come back to this slide so that we can just cross check, right? So as I said, नालसा का केस था, National Legal Services Authority, जिसमें versus Union of India, where the transgenders, they received the legal recognition of the third gender, which was given by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, right? Then as per Article 14, 15, 16 and 21, these you must have read in polity. I've just mentioned and tried to cover all the aspects. So these are the articles. I hope you know them. If you don't know them, please study. Prelims is just around the corner. These should be on your tips, right? So the court has provided transgenders with equal rights as per these articles. The policies are in line with these sustainable development goals 1, 3, 4, 5, 8 and 10. Let's see ek baar which goals are there. 1, 3, 4, 5, 8 and 10. What are the goals? First one is no poverty. Second is good health and well-being. Fourth is quality education. Eighth is decent work and economic growth, and 10th is reduced inequalities. So every policy related to transgenders and beggars is in line with these goals, right? Now there is this particular act called Bombay Act. This gives you the definition of what a beggar is. This act actually also, the act came in 1959. So this actually criminalizes begging, and this has been in question for a very, very long time. So if you are going to write answer, you can quote this line as per Bombay Act. This is the definition, right? So these are the top states where most of the beggars are found. West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Top union territories are New Delhi and Chandigarh, right? Now, what are the other initiatives? Other initiatives are the Ministry of Women and Child Development is implementing Integrated Child Protection Scheme, ICPS, and Odisha government has launched Sahay scheme, scheme for protection, care and rehabilitation of beggars, right? So Odisha government has given this scheme. Your Ministry of Child Development has given this scheme, and there was a particular scheme named by Bihar, given by Bihar, which was Mukhyamantri Bhikshavriti Nirvan Yojana. The government of Bihar came with Mukhyamantri Bhikshavriti Nirvan Yojana. Under this scheme, they do not arrest or detain or treat beggars in an ill manner. They actually help them out and make it sure they have a proper place to stay, and they make an effort to resettle and rehabilitate them, right? So one more thing was left. Have you ever thought, is that removing beggars, making sure they have a better life, is it the sole responsibility of the state, or are we responsible to it, right? This is the question that arises. It can come in your ethics paper as well, it can come in your essay paper as well. So do think about it, why people are pushed for begging. There are n number of reasons for it. There can be physical reasons, economic reasons, social reasons. There can be natural calamities that can push people to come to begging, and there can be psychological reasons. Sometimes you just find it easier to beg, and n number of issues that are associated with it, right? So for begging, what we can do is we can launch schemes which can help them for a better life, and we can try forming other laws for cartels that have been associated with begging, right? When it comes to transgenders, what is the way forward? Because we have to address their problems as well. So when it comes to transgenders, we have to pay attention towards their health. We have to help them to self-identify themselves, right? We have to help them to self-identify themselves. We have to help them so that they pay attention towards their health, their education, their employment. We have to create awareness, and we have to make sure they have a proper legal protection, right? So that all of us can progress together in a proper futuristic manner, right? Now let's come to our second topic, SEED scheme for economic empowerment of DNTs. DNTs are denotified tribes, also known as Vimukta Jatis. These tribes were originally mentioned as criminal tribes by British Raj, and what used to happen was, if these tribes they did not register themselves to the then magistrate, they were charged by criminal activities under IPC, but this act was repealed by Government of India in 1952, right? So this is all about what are denotified tribes, right? So there was this Criminal Tribes Act, I've already told you twice or thrice, right? The British Raj came up with this whole law in 1871 till 1947, repealed by Government of India in 1952. Now the important thing for us is, what usually comes in exam is, what are the traits of tribes by which they are identified. What are the traits? They are diverse, they have diverse ideological patterns, their culture is different, political and social lifestyle is different, their customs are different, traditions are related to their economic activities. Like if someone is associated with the work that is related to iron, so their customs are going to be related to that particular sorts. If they are involved in salt making, cloth making, jugglers, if they are pastoralists, so as per their occupation, their customs are defined, right? Now what are the issues related to DNTs? Issues related to DNTs is, they are neglected, they are marginalized, they are economically and socially deprived from any other sorts of mainstream, right? And these are the communities, they have never had a particular land holding of their own, right? So they have led a nomadic life, which has brought a lot of instability for them. Now let's discuss in detail what affects tribals particularly. Can you please hold on for a moment? So let's discuss what affects tribals. Sorry about that. Your first point is their physical constraint, right? Physical constraint, tribals are particularly secluded to a certain region. They are not habitual of going to the regular mainstream life. So their physical constraint narrows down their areas of opportunity in every aspect, economically, socially, medical facilities, education, health facilities, etc., everything, right? Then because they are mainly associated to jungles and outskirt areas, the places which are sidelined from the main city life, so they face a huge area of man-animal conflict, right? Plus this goes majorly unaddressed. Now, illiteracy and gender gap. They are unable to receive, although we have come up with these Ekalavya model schools, if you have read about them. If not, please remember this topic and go through it. So, there is a lot of problem with their education. There is illiteracy, and particularly the tribal women. There also, between male and females, the tribal women are highly illiterate, and that is the reason which leads to their commoditization, right? Then there are gender issues. Because women are illiterate, again wahi beggars wali problem comes here. What happens is they are involved in either human trafficking, sex trafficking, or prostitution. They are bound to, pushed to do it. They don't want to, but just so as to sustain themselves, they are pushed to do it. Now they face very high mortality rates, which are high rates of IMR and maternal infant mortality rate and maternal mortality rate, right? Now they have a hard time adjusting with the regular population. So assimilation with their non-tribal population is a very huge issue for them. Because tribal culture is constantly changing, they are used to of a certain cultural aspect. When they come out of it, everything else is alien to them. So they sort of feel they have lost their identity, and no one is there to acknowledge the fact that it is okay to be different, right? So this is the major reason they do not want to come out of their secluded state, erosion of identity. Then tribals, again, they fall into the trap of drug addiction. Not only the narcotics, but the local drugs, the weed, which are found in jungles. A lot of tribals, they fall prey to drug addiction. Because a lot of resettlement and rehabilitation takes place, and we are cutting down jungles at an immense speed. They lose control over their natural resources, which, because their main source of livelihood is from forest, collecting fruits, collecting Ayurvedic medicines, honey, shrubs, etc. So when they are losing the control over natural resources, this also leads to extreme levels of poverty in them, right? Because they are poor, because they are losing control here, this leads to poverty, and when poverty comes, they are forced to do bonded labor. Bonded labor mein they are highly underpaid, and they are made to work at a double intensity, which leads to their exploitation, right? Land alienation. लैंड एलिएशन में क्या है, अभी रिसेंटली किसी ने सुना था, इन एमपी देयर इज दिस केन बेटवा रिवर, केन बेटवा इंटरलिंकिंग प्रोजेक्ट इज गोइंग ऑन. उसकी वजह से देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ ट्राइबल्स विच आर रिजाइडिंग इन दिस पन्ना टाइगर रिजर्व. They, because these two rivers are being linked, a lot of tribals have to leave their residing area, because that is going to be submerged under water. So already they do not have any particular hold of their land, right? And jitna uske paas hai bhi, they are being evacuated from there. So land alienation becomes a very huge factor for them, right? Then they are displaced. Once they are displaced, their rehabilitation takes a lot of time, and there are further issues associated with it, whether they can adjust into the new place, whether they want to adjust in the new place, how are they going to earn their livelihood, etc, etc. So the displacement and rehabilitation becomes a huge issue, right? There is a huge lack of awareness जब education ही proper नहीं है, so how can you expect them to have awareness about government schemes? So they do not know what government is working for them, how government is working for them, and what are their rights. So because of unawareness, they face huge crisis, right? Next is subsistence economy. Mostly tribals, even if they are pastoralist, if they practice this jhum cultivation, they only grow that much so that they can survive on their own. They do not grow it commercially. Even if they are practicing any other sorts of economic practices, they only work or produce in that amount so that they can sustain themselves. So in the times of commercial economy, their subsistence economy becomes a huge issue for survival. Then comes the topic of their health and nutrition. See, because they are ignorant about what they need in health and nutrition, they are deprived of proper medical facilities. Even during COVID times, the tribal people suffered a lot because they did not know what to do. They were infected. The Gonds, it was in news a lot of times. It was in news, and people, they died in very big numbers. But because they did not know how to reach the government, they suffered a lot. So because health and nutrition is an issue, they face huge amounts of mortality rates. We've discussed all of it. If you have any issues, please mention it in comments. I'll take it up further, right? Now about the scheme, again I've divided it into sub parts. So let's see which is the department that is handling this seed scheme. The department is Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, right? So there are going to be 4 components. The cost of the scheme is around 200 crore and it will start from this financial year. It has 4 components, and first one is educational empowerment. We are going to help the tribal children so that they can become an active part of our civil service community, and they can get into proper professional courses so that they can break this cycle of poverty and ignorance, right? We are going to provide them health insurance through this Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Yojana by the respective health authority, and we are going to provide them livelihood support for income generation through various skills, right? And we are going to provide them housing facilities through Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or Indra Awas Yojana, which was formerly Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which was formerly Indra Awas Yojana, right? So now let's discuss what are the components of the scheme. So the scheme will be implemented by Department of Social Justice and Empowerment. Eligibility के लिए क्या condition है? Families whose annual income is below 2.5 lakhs and which are not covered under any other schemes of central and state government of same sorts, right? Whatever funds are there, they'll be debited to their accounts through, credited to their accounts directly through DBT, direct benefit transfer, right? And the implementing agencies are National Rural Livelihood Mission NRLM and National Health Authority NHA, right? Now our next topic is what are other government initiatives related to tribals. So government constituted the first commission initially in October 2003 for this DNTs, right? Then again in March 2005 Renke commission was constituted to complete this earlier mandate. Sorry about that. this earlier mandate. Renke Commission was constituted. Then Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment in February 2014 constituted National Commission for DNTs by Bhikuji Ram Idate. Right. Based on this National Commission under Bhiku Ramji Idate, Development and Welfare Board for Denotified Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Communities was constituted, which is a prime agency to look after the problems of tribal people and accordingly work in that direction. These are the some important cases and commissions which are related to tribal issue. We have talked about this pichle video maybe when we were discussing Methi community. So it is Kaka Kalelkar. Then there has been Lokur committee, there has been Debar commission, there has been Bhuria committee, there was this case about D. Dayal versus Union of India case. Then there was Samantha judgment and there was this Virginius Zaza committee. This has been instrumental in forming the Forest Right Acts and other important government policies which have come into place related to tribal people. Right, these are the articles in Indian Constitution that are related to tribes. Which are the articles? 14, 15, 16, 338A, 342, 46, 275, 1 and 336, 340 and your 6th schedule as a whole. When, if and when we talk about the sustainable development goals, so the related sustainable development goals are 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 and 10. I've already showed you the chart. Please go back to that chart and try relating how policies are related to tribal people. Right. Now let's come to our third and last topic of the day. The topic is Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana. Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana is basically, it was launched a couple of years ago, basically for elderly and disabled people, Divyangjan, not Divyangjan, but people who because of their extreme age need some sort of assistance, right? So, now this is the key line. Free assistive devices for senior citizens below poverty line. Right. So this was in news because a camp was launched in Tikamgarh. There's a place called Tikamgarh in MP. So Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment arranged this camp and devices were distributed for elderly people. These were the devices distributed. Although this does not come in paper what sort of devices were distributed, I've just put it in slide because just in case if you know someone who needs assistance, so you can read it and like help them out from here. Okay, so let's get back to the details which are related to scheme. Right, so the scheme is implemented by Alimco. This is important. This is a public sector unit under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, right? So, Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation is implementing this scheme, right? The criteria for senior citizens to get full benefits of Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana is they must belong to the BPL family and they must have BPL card issued by the respective authority, right? Scheme किसने implement करी? I've already told you, run by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. How does the scheme receive funds? The scheme received funds, again this is a central sector scheme, 100% funding by central government and government machinery, right? So it's a central sector scheme. Now how does this scheme receives funding? It receives funding from Senior Citizens Welfare Fund which was created in year 2016. इस फंड में पैसा कहाँ से आता है? The unclaimed amounts from small savings account, PPF and EPF, right? जो भी unclaimed amount होता है, this goes to your Citizens Welfare Fund. From there, we help out the senior citizens who need assistance. right? These are the recent initiatives that have been taken by the government. So there is IPOP, Integrated Program for Older Persons. There is Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana, जो हमने अभी डिस्कस करा है. There is IGNOPS, Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. Then there is Varisht Pension Bima Yojana. There is Pradhan Mantri Vaya Vandan Yojana, and there is Vayoshreshth Samman. These are a couple of initiatives. You must know them if you are going to write answers. So just go through them once. Right, now provisions related to elderly. What are the provisions? See, Article 41 and 46 are the constitutional provisions, although they are not enforceable by law. Right. Now Section 20 of Hindu Marriage Act makes it obligatory for children and their heir to maintain aged parents. Right. Under Section 125 of this Criminal Procedure Code, parents can claim maintenance from their children. There was this Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act in 2007, which makes it legal for children to take care of their elderly parents, and whatever heirs of family are there, they are responsible for elderly people of the house. There was this Convention on the Rights of Older Persons that was proposed in United Nations, and World Assembly on Aging happened, which is also known as International Plan on Aging. It was published and represented, which ultimately led to Madrid International Plan on Aging in 2002. Right. Now, under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, housing for aged is given preference. They are given first preference. And social security, this, please remember this, use this in your answers. This line is very, very, very important. I cannot stress it enough. Social security is the concurrent responsibility of central government and the state government as mandated under Constitution. I have already discussed Article 41 and Article 46. All these led to the formation of National Policy on Senior Citizens, which was framed in 2011. Right? These are the Sustainable Development Goals. I've already showed you once. This is the chart again. This is a reminder. Please, please, please remember these. These were the topics for today. If you have any doubts, please mention them in comments. I'll get back to you. And regarding our previous class, I had two doubts. There were two doubts which I was asked. So the first doubt was, what is India's statute on refugees? So India has no official statute on refugees. India has always been welcoming, whether it was formation of Bangladesh or refugees from other countries. India has always welcomed people, but officially India has no certain defined policy. There is no law. So India has no statute on refugees. Second question was, agar AFSPA gives the paramilitary forces, military forces such supreme power, then why insurgency still exists? See, this was the question. So my point is, try understanding this. God forbids if a certain situation breaks out in your locality, right? Police comes to control it and they are given immense power, supreme power, you handle it your way, right? Police is going to handle the chaos that is happening around, but police cannot cure the basic reasons because of which the chaos was caused, right? So insurgency also, it is being caused due to certain discontent among people. The military forces, paramilitary forces, they can only control the criminal activities, the notorious activities, the extremism. They cannot inherently take care of the basic root causes. For that, government policies along with the local people have to be framed. That is the only way forward, right? If you have any further doubts, please mention them in comments. Tomorrow same time you are going to meet Akash sir. He's going to take up some amazing topics, miscellaneous topics which are important, very important from your exams point of view, but remain untouched, right? So this is all for now. Let's meet again on Friday. Okay, I hope all of you are safe and sound. Take care of yourself, study well, the clock is ticking, and all the best for the exams. Take care. Goodbye.